Hey, what's up? Just got back from Maryland. Had a great time. Helped my family move into our new house. Really excited. I'm not gonna talk much about that. I'm not gonna talk much about that, but I will talk about my weekend plans or my weekend productivity and all that. So I had a couple goals. I said I was gonna set up benchmarks and get results for Gaussian Flash. I said I was gonna implement and test the graph neural network paper from DeepMind. I said I was gonna finish my data analysis project. I was gonna read a paper for my research work with UMD. I was gonna figure out SDF to Gaussians. I was gonna figure out my work project, like the second part of my internship. How much of that actually got done? To be very honest, I went into this fully expecting that I may not get everything done, but hopefully expecting I will get everything done. But after going through the weekend, I can comfortably say I got 50% done. And also like the things I said were gonna be relatively easy, like implementing and testing in Google, the DeepMind graph neural network paper wasn't gonna be much work because that was pretty much done from the get-go. So we just to test that and see, hey, does the code actually work on my laptop? Also just install the relevant libraries and whatnot. Reading the paper, the thing about reading papers is that it looks like a lot, but a lot of papers, a big chunk of it is really just in citations. And then after that, you have the methodology, but like a good chunk of methodology is actually just the formulas. I think what's interesting about computer graphics papers, and which is what I'm struggling with now, is that with the formulas, a lot of it is physics. But it's not like, oh, here's how we implemented this thing. Exactly. It's more so like here's a formula, like here's Plato's law or theorem, whatever, or 4 years or something, like whatever it is, and just give it to you and they explain it a bit and like why it's relevant. But like they'll like you don't really have to dig into it in my experience, but I do want to dig into it because it's to actually extend the work. You do have to have some intuitive understanding of why a format is what it is and where it's limited and how you should operate with it. Um, but then when you take out the citations and like the formulas, it's a fairly quick paper. A lot of my favorite parts of the FireX paper I was reading was actually in the literature review because actually I'm like, oh dang, this is what's been done. And a lot of stuff has been done computer graphics, just not with Gaussians. I think that's what's really interesting. Like even the Gaussian spotting isn't really that new. In terms of research, I do think it is fairly new. And as such, there's so many stuff we can say, like, okay, we've done this for like 20 years, but have we done it with Gaussians? And that's like really something where it's like you have a lot of opportunities for good work. How much it contributes to the scientific community, I do not know, but still a lot of stuff I can pull inspiration from and work from. So I'm really excited about that. But overall, it's a really good paper. Um, I also figured out the SDF to Gaussians. I'm gonna be very honest. This was kind of last minute. Not as last minute as it should have been, but it still does work. I think it's really interesting because so far no one I know has really gone SDF to Gaussians working, and I don't want to say I'm the only one who's done it. Right? That feels very boastful and overconfident of myself. But I will say I did want to do it, and since I couldn't find anyone else who could have who did do it, I'm pretty much the only one who's done it, from what I know. But honestly, it wasn't hard. Really, the big thing with SDF to Gaussians, just imagine SDFs being you have let's take a chunk of space and you have a bound, let's call it our bounding box, and within that bounding box you have a shape. You can call it a donut, you can call it a cube, and then on the surface of the cube, that a function would say that's zero, that equals zero. Outside that's like a positive number, inside it's a negative number. As basically an SDF, but you can imagine that's continuous. The issue with Gaussians is that Gaussians are basically it's just like a bunch of flat, different shape, different color stickers, and they're as such they're discrete, right? So continuous to discrete is a bit of a tricky thing. How do you really get to work? The gist of it was really just saying, hey, you take that continuous object, you take that continuous object and you throw a bunch of sand at it, and then you see what sticks. Like literally, like you see what sticks. And then from there, you do some optimization. Like you say, okay, how many Gaussians do we actually need at a single point? Like we can then delete some points. We can be a bit greedy with it. We don't have to be too complex and all of that. Obviously, it was honestly a good approach. Nothing too crazy. How well it does with topology and like gaps in topology and all that, not really the best. I do have to also implement color because right now it just goes off like this rainbow thing. But for the most part, the good chunk of it has been done. I'm really excited about that. Um, and lastly, figure out my work project. To be honest, I still haven't figured it out. I do know I want to do something that's physics informed because a lot of the work I'm doing is trending more towards physics, whether it be with Gaussian flash physics can be Gaussians, whether it be with the neural engine that Startups is working on physics, really like learning physics, whether it be with the work I'm doing with UMD, thermodynamics. I want to make sure my internship project amplifies me, but also takes you all status of engagement, the company I'm working at, to the next stage. Like where are they going to be in 10 years? And can I say my work took them to where they were in the next 10 years, right? I want my work to be foundational in that sense, right? I don't want to be something like, oh, I did it and it was useful to me, but wasn't actually useful to a broader organization. I do think that's why I'm thinking of my work much more of a moonshot project where it's like, okay, I don't want to think about what's going to be needed tomorrow. I want to be thinking about what's going to be needed in the next 5, 10, and all that years. So in that sense, as a safety organization, if we want to be making standards for products, we can't just be using the same approach we've been using for the past couple of years. We have to look like, okay, technology is changing, more and more products are coming out every day. How can we make this much more, I don't say automated, but how can we do this much quicker? And as such, since we're safety, dangers emerge from physics because we live in a physical world, and as such, stuff that behave in behave physics basically says these are the laws, and if you do these laws or you break something, something bad happens, right? Like a thermal runaway or like a battery explodes. So how can we predict that? And I want to do it. It's a tricky thing because it's much more on the multi-agentic side. I think that's really awesome because multi-agents are just awesome in general, and there's a lot of cool work I can be doing there. But then it's like, okay, how do I do something that's multi-agentic in physical form? And it's like, okay, do I just read a bunch of papers? Do I take external data? I really don't know. I am thinking about it, and it is looking very exciting. I can't say that for sure. I do think, um, I do think my manager, my supervisor, will be on the same page with me because I was talking, and this is why onboarding is important for anyone who's watching this. Like, if you're an intern, the first thing kids you should do is to just onboard with everyone on the team and ask them questions about their work. Like, the goal of onboarding is really like you're a journalist, you're interviewing, and you really want to get into the mind of the person you're working with. So when you're actually doing your work, you can synthesize the experiences of people who've been there for 5, 10, 20 years and really bring the combination of all the work into your work. But from these onboarding I did, it does seem that there's a gap in really assessing the dangers of products and how fast we can do that. The issues I don't fully understand the full pipeline because as we are your size engagement, we also have a research division. I do believe the research division does do some stuff with investigation, but I wonder if it's just an investigation or if they do testing because UL Science Engagement is a part of a three-board organization, and you have UL Research Institute and you have UL Solutions. So I believe UL Solutions does the testing, UL Research Institute does the investigation, and UL Science and Engagement does the standard development. But I really need to understand the pipeline better to see where the tools I want to build will fit. Because if you have people doing research, is it something where the tool I'm building is much more suited for them? Or is it something where it's like, okay, it's actually better for people doing standards because those two bodies of work are distinct from each other and don't blend into each other as much as I'm thinking. So a lot of words I'm saying, the gist of it is like I have to go get more information. And when I get more information, I'll be more confident in the choices and thoughts I'm having and making. But overall, I do think it was a productive weekend. I could have been way more productive, and this is something I've been meaning to express is that I've been moving slower. Um, and I still don't like that, but I think as the days are passing, I am getting better, and I'm getting to previous speeds, and I am on my way to surpass those speeds in terms of the work I'm doing. Besides that, though, I have nothing else to say. So, have a great day.